brought to you by the I Member Media Sonoran Desert Studios. This is Nuance, with journalists Dr. Robert E. Alejandro Esquire and Michael Wood Jr. Welcome to the podcast about looking for the other side of the argument, bringing in the science, and chipping away at groupthink, biases, prejudices, and the limitations of perspective. Oh, and social constructs. They are not real, but we humans use their concepts to affect nearly everything. Roberto has spent a lifetime listening to the voices of the people, especially as portrayed through the lens of hip-hop. Real hip-hop, not the poppy chart toppers. He communicates that story through his work as the CEO of On Background Media and Stay Up News at stayup.news. Along his educational journey, he has earned a BA in History and Political Science, an MA in Ecclesiastical History, a law degree, and a doctorate in Religion and Theology. I do not know what half of that stuff even is, but I was a fore-and-out Marine Sergeant in the Fleet Anti-Terrorism Security Team Company, then spent 11 years in the Baltimore Police Department as a patrol officer, knocker, major case narcotics detective, sergeant, and unit commander until being forced to retire from a recurring shoulder injury. Since then, I have attempted to listen to the people and find solutions to our policing issues, which brought me through an education path of a BA in Criminal Justice and Law Enforcement, an MA in Business Management and Information Technology, and my current doctoral candidacy in Business Management and Management Education, which will be finished whenever I stop getting distracted from my dissertation. The recording of this is not very good evidence for the completion of such a goal. With similar end goals, our dramatically different beginnings led to our crossing paths during the uprising in Baltimore after the killing of Freddie Gray. I have come to consider Roberto one of my truest friends, someone whom I could always confide in and trust to challenge me intellectually. This podcast goes back to about midway in that relationship, which is an interesting aspect to have partially recorded. Well, at least I think so. Nuance began as part of our mutual frustration of simple narratives dominating the discussion and isolating of those narratives from the rest of society who does not fit a preconceived narrative of preference. So we began recording and are now inviting you to re-listen on this network, but I implore you to explore Roberto's work over at stayup.news. So onward to the next logical step, our efforts to provide some, nuance. I have been unsure how to introduce the representation of this podcast. I personally struggle with the fact that my goal is primarily that of a public educator, and to successfully educate, intentional language is used, which is our best guess to being the most receptive to our learners. And I know that ultimately the words you use matter. I also believe in being authentic, not just morally, but the research supports authenticism being preferred by a growing number of people. A narrative that I am being authentic in my presentation of being a public educator or some other bullshit excuse is easy enough to accept, but that feels, inauthentic. I am deeply conflated about how to present my arguments and how much people should see of me. The more I reveal of myself, the more people are distracted from the issues. But there are also a significant amount of people who appreciate when there is no filter and see through the identity politics which continually shift the issue from the message to the messenger. This has been easily done to me in multiple fashions, but the most obvious is why would anyone whistleblow if the whistleblower is actively discredited for being in the position to know of the information worthy of breaking rank for? For example, it is unreasonable to shame Edward Snowden for not having known the information that he was about to be exposed to, for being part of that system. It just doesn't make any sense. As that began to happen to me, the narrative switched to the old tripe of the left eating its own, and naively thought that we were in a different time, and the same mistakes of the past would not occur. So obviously, I found myself with fewer and fewer people to talk to. I found nearly every media person to just be telling their own narrative, aware of it or not, blind to their hypocrisy, and if you mention it to them, the messenger becomes the enemy. It is well-known science, and I recommend you explore that further on a podcast called You Are Not That Smart on the Boing Boing Network if this is your preferred format podcasting. I found myself only being able to have discussions with Roberto, and I imagine that is due to a combination of his personality and desire to be a self critical scholar, which I find to be the key being self critical. Being critical of everyone else is for fucking children who avoid responsibility. Well, well, I suppose I am taking a more authentic approach after all. That is fine for children. We cannot allow ourselves to continue the rationalization and narrative of immature philosophies. I feel as though I stumbled through much of this podcast history and getting lost in the realities of this country and the societies it is constructed of. The more you experience and learn, the more you realize how little you know, and really we do not know much. Almost everything is a best guess of what is remaining from the things we know do not work. I have learned enough that I feel as though I should just listen and continue to try and get more data, but so much of our narrative stands in such stark contrast to what we know will and will not work. There is nearly nothing but misinformation through ignorance in the discussions proposed by media. So Roberto and I feel we must try to evoke some discussions to the perspective our analysis and put it up for debate against the noise of propaganda. Please just listen, share, and hold our ideas accountable. We are very receptive of the feedback. Both of us are trying to help as much as possible, but fighting against the power structure is a known path of near insurmountable opposition. Despite what some people with some really crazy ideas say, no money from activism has ever entered my pockets, and Roberto did not even have a car most of the time that I have known him as a struggling grassroots journalist. I suppose I am avoiding the topic, though. We, we have tried to walk the walk, lost tens of thousands in lost school semesters, selling our assets, and my wife even gave up her career in teaching to fight to end the oppression. I do not know if I even have the fortitude to complete another job application after 500 of them, and those police chief jobs that I'm asked to put in for take days, if not weeks, of effort. In the end, Roberto stays with most other people with integrity in broke land, and I am labeled an eco terrorist, whistleblower, radical, and unemployable. The renewal of the discussions we have on the Nuance podcast is part of the last chance I have with a package picked up by iMember Media to produce a series of podcasts, video presentations, and public education courses, and hope there are enough of you that want them and care. It becomes hard to not be disillusioned, and I'm not sure what I'm really trying to say other than we just cannot keep doing this stuff without your support, as gross and slimy as that feels to me. So thank you for being here and bearing with this constant reminder each episode. The bottom line is that money makes things happen. Time truly is money. That is what it represents. It takes a lifestyle to put out these materials, and the system has no desire to allow us to pay our bills. Many of us are in that boat these days. The good news is that, seriously, time is money. If you have no time and too much money, please donate to the Patreon, to Stay Up News, or to iMember Media. If you have no money and some time, that is every bit as helpful and valuable. To me, it is priceless for you to share this and other critical thinking with everyone you know and to have those challenging conversations. StayUp.News is a revolutionary media project that seeks to document social and political issues through hip hop, amplifying the voices of persons from sectors of society that often go ignored in the process of news gathering, and doing so in a language that is intimately familiar to them. Stay Up News seeks to use hip hop as a tool for exploring social and political issues and centering the voices of persons living those issues, thus allowing them to express themselves in their own language and allowing the audience to determine their own responses to those issues on the basis of having heard directly from those most impacted. The amount and quality of extensive news, background, podcasts, and interviews on Stay Up is an example of dedicated excellence. I just want to be clear that we're not saying we're better than anyone. We're not saying we're smarter. We're not saying we have the answers. we just don't know what to do other than something to try and get the discussion moving towards reforms and towards solutions that you can watch this podcast slowly disintegrate as our cultural references and our entire manner of what it means to be American has switched since the election. And maybe it never switched, but it has made it quite clear as I watched Tucker Carlson, Tommy Lahren, and InfoWars make the arguments for not being going to Syria and getting our young men and women killed. Instead, the left wants to go after Russia, wants to attack everyone, wants to be the enforcer, the tyrant, the oppressor. And like, I'll admit, I'm embarrassed deeply. Like, I committed to these concepts of reform and the concepts of standing up for others and being there in this manner of servitude, but the left me. And not that I was left, I don't identify with any of those labels, but my ideas were certainly things that would be associated with the left. But now, I thought we were all standing there saying end oppression, and I feel like there's not many of us left saying that. There's just a few of us left that they're calling crazy, or they're trying to slander, or do anything they can to tear down, that aren't repeating this nonsense narrative of othering everybody that isn't us and not seeing us all as humans. So, next episode, we begin with a discussion that I have not heard in a long time, but is with one of those eventual sources of ad hominem attacks on me, Dr. Lawrence Brown, on the topic of public health and policing. In later episodes of Nuance, we discuss the attacks from Lawrence Brown as his increasingly vocal narrative of Black nationalism. Regardless to any of the merit to any arguments regarding nationalism, modern-day Black nationalism is the same as neo-Nazi fascism. It just has brown skin. It is my fight to end oppression, not change who the oppressors are, which is really no change at all. Black people have been executing oppression in Lawrence Brown's city of Baltimore for long enough already. At some point in time, we are going to have to start judging people by the content of their character and not the color of their skin. Hopefully you can all help me understand with an outside perspective. There's only one way to find out. See you next episode.